Thanks for hopping on with us. We have a special guest tonight, Parker Ruttan from Behind the Broadcast. First, though, this is our first event of 2024. Really excited to kick it off with really a experience we haven't had before. We haven't featured someone like Parker who is behind the scenes. As always, make sure that you raise your hand if you have a question. We'll get to as many as we can over the next hour. And without further ado, Lauren, take it from here.
Hey everyone, thanks everyone for hopping on, and thanks again to Parker. So just to give you guys a brief overview of who Parker is, he's the founder of Behind the Broadcast. It's a brand dedicated to showcasing the other players involved when you're watching your favorite sports broadcasts, the ones carrying around the cables, operating cameras, and freezing the trucks. And Parker, I took this right from your website, so if it sounds familiar.
No, it's perfect.
It was created in 2021 as a way for people in the industry to connect with one another. And he created the Instagram account to create a space for people working in the broadcasting industry to highlight their talent and dedication. And since its foundation, Behind the Broadcast has become a place where outsiders can get an inside look into the world of broadcasting. And more importantly, where broadcasters can network, share knowledge, and uplift one another. And I think this is really great as a fellow behind the scenes employee, not necessarily in the same capacity as you, Parker, but it's just nice to get recognized, right? Like, I feel like a lot of those behind the scenes people don't get the recognition that a lot of front facing camera people do. So it's just nice to be able to share that recognition. So thank you again so much for coming on.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me. It was when I got your email, I was flattered that you guys reached out to me. It's crazy to think that, 3 years ago when I was a utility and just kind of coming up with this crazy idea during COVID, that it's grown into what it is now. I've got people like you reaching out and many other companies and enterprises. So it's just been a crazy wild ride these last 2 years.
Yeah, I can imagine. And we're going to kind of hop on some of that. But the first question I wanted to ask you is just, I know I kind of gave a little intro into who you are, but give us a background on who you are, what your full-time gig is, and how you got started in this industry.
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with, my name is Parker. I'm now a fiber tech and camera operator. I've been in TV and behind the scenes broadcasting for about 9 years now. So I would say getting to be a seasoned veteran. I've worked Super Bowls, World Series events, NBA Finals, US Opens. I've worked just about every big event you could think of. So my career has been I've been very privileged to be able to experience a lot of the things that my career has taken me to. I started kind of just as a college student. I actually studied television production, which is it's not a common path. Usually people that fall into TV, they know somebody or they get an opportunity, someone brings them in. But for me, it's been a passion since I was in high school. So I grew up in Utah, and I moved to California to pursue this dream of working in broadcast TV. And when I went to go get my college education, there was a program called Cinema, Television, Video Arts, which is CTVA for short. That's what my degree is in, Cinema, Television, Video Arts. And but when I went there, it wasn't anything that I wanted to do, right? I wasn't learning the skills that I needed, and I wasn't getting involved in the stuff that I wanted to be in. Because when you got to go to school for this kind of stuff, there's really no like exact course for being behind the scenes in broadcasting, So luckily for me, my college was they had just redone their whole their in-house production crew, their sports production, and so the basketball arena got these brand new cameras, and they were kind of doing a whole revamp, trying to make the D1 basketball team that much better, And so I was approached, being in the program, saying, hey, we're looking for cameramen, we're looking for camera operators to shoot live sports. And this is what I really wanted to do. And so my first job thankfully, luckily, was being a cameraman for the Jumbotron feed in my local college. The college was Cal State Northridge. So if you're in Los Angeles, it's in the Valley. It's like outside of UCLA. I couldn't afford UCLA or USC. And so it was kind of like a next best thing. I still wanted to be in California where there's all these opportunities in California for television. And so I kind of got lucky where I came into my local college and got the experience, got on a camera, and then from there it was just getting experience and networking, meeting new people. Because even though I was doing the in-house feed, which paid $10 an hour, and I would do it probably 6 hours a week. There were other companies like ESPN3 or Fox Sports that would come into the arena and they would cover the games on their level, for Fox Sports' level or whatever it was. And so here I am as like a college kid with a camera on my shoulder, and there's a guy who's getting paid $500 a day with a camera on his shoulder right next to me shooting the same thing as me. And so I was able to kind of talk to those people and say, hey, how do I climb? How do I get to the next level in broadcasting? And some contacts worked out. But what I quickly found out is that if you want to go to the next level, you don't just become a cameraman. If you want to come to the next level, you have to kind of start over. So I started as a PA. I was a utility for many years, and then I kind of got back into camera work. And now I'm what they call a fiber tech, where I kind of oversee all the technicals of all the cameras and monitoring feeds on these big productions. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
And now, so with your are you freelance or are you employed by a singular company, or how does that work for you?
So good question. So the way it works, it's a freelance job. I am freelance. I'm not I don't get benefits by ESPN or NBC or CBS. However, I'm still W-2'd by them. So I'm still an employee by ESPN, CBS, NBC, and a couple others. But I don't work enough hours where like you get full-time benefits type deal. And I think it's just the network's way of keeping their payroll easier. That way they're not having to 1099 or W-9 people all the time. It's just kind of when you're a consistent worker for them, that you get on their W-2 list, and then you kind of just work from there.
Now,
So
Parker,
taxes are fun.
Are these mostly all live game broadcasts? Is that mostly your work?
Yeah. I would say 99% of my work comes from live television broadcasting. So basically, the type of broadcasting where there's a network. Let's give ESPN, for example. ESPN wants to cover, let's say, a Laker game, right? So ESPN hires a truck company, a television truck company, let's say NEP or Game Creek are two of the largest truck companies. And they bring in all the equipment, and ESPN kind of hires the people to go with the trucks that put on the broadcast. And so a lot of these shows, I'm either hired on as a cameraman or as a fiber tech, or even as a utility sometimes as well. I really don't turn down too much work. That's one of my biggest things I tell people is, it doesn't matter what level of you are, or level you think you are, if there's work, you should take it, because you never know where those opportunities are going to lead to. So, yeah, so it's just working for those networks, and that's kind of how it works. Is the TV truck comes in, and then everyone kind of works on the TV trucks, and then when you get to a higher level, let's say I work for Monday Night Football. That's like my main squeeze for the fall, right? So every week, I'm in a new city where Monday Night Football is in, and so for that show particularly, there's a main crew that does every week, and then they'll hire local people for kind of like the PA jobs and the utility jobs and things like that. So there's a lot that goes on in broadcast that people really just don't see.
Well, exactly. And I think, that kind of leads me into my next question. Tell us more about how and why you started behind the broadcast.
Yeah. So to kind of piggyback off what you said earlier, Behind the Broadcast is now the world's largest social media page when it comes to broadcasting and behind the scenes. It's got 200 and I think I hit 280 today, 280,000 followers. Um, and so it just shows the behind the scenes of what goes on that people really don't think about. You know, when you're watching TV, when you're watching a football game, you don't think of how that cameraman is capturing that football game, or you don't, if you're watching hockey, you don't think how that director in the truck is directing that show. So that's the main idea of the whole of Behind the Broadcast, is to just highlight the people behind the scenes that don't ever get the limelight, because it's always about the talent, it's always about the celebrities or whoever it is, the athletes. So that's what my platform does. It highlights and it gives people a new perspective of what's going on. And it started as kind of a joke, to be honest. You know, it was COVID in 2021, 2020-ish. And I was out of work. I really didn't have anything going on, and I was bored, and I'm just like a very busybody type of person mentality. I'm very ADD, ADHD. So I got to always be doing something. And so I came up with this idea called Sports with No Fans. I'm actually wearing the hat right now. You can see it says Sports with No Fans.
An OG hat right there.
The OG. This is actually, so I was looking for a hat, and this is the very last one that I own. So it's going back in the archives, maybe for to save. Maybe it'll be worth something one day. But anyways, so I started this company called Sports with No Fans, and it was basically just showing what was going on in the arenas during COVID, because as broadcasters, we were considered the essential workers, right? If we all remember that time where no fans were allowed in the arenas, but we were allowed there because we had to broadcast those games, you know. So Sports with No Fans started out, and I got with like 20 of my closest friends, and we all worked in TV. And I said, hey guys, let's just start sharing what's going on during COVID, like all the dumb, stupid things that are going on, like, you know, the cardboard cutouts is like something that everyone kind of remembers. And there were just funny, weird things that you would never see unless it was the COVID era, you know? So Sports with No Fans started, and it was rolling, and it was kind of building up a small following of like 100 people in the TV industry and whatnot. And then it kind of kept going. And I think I got it up to about 1,200 people, which was unreal to me. I told myself, once I hit 5,000, I'm done. I'm quitting. This is taking too much of my time. There's nothing involved in this. There's nothing more coming out of this. And so I got to 1,200 followers. And about this time, the fans were coming back. And so I'm thinking, okay, I got this platform, Sports with No Fans, and I've got these following that are all kind of TV people. They all are interested in camera work. And so that's when like it was like an epiphany, when I was going through names of like what I should change it to. And then I came up with the name Behind the Broadcast, and it was just like, that's it, you know? And so I changed it to Behind the Broadcast. And then I kind of just started showing more now of what the behind the scenes were. And I needed a proof of concept. And so I was working a Christmas Day basketball game, and this was like the best Christmas present ever. I asked the cameraman if I could film him working, and he agreed to it. And I said, okay, cool. And so I filmed him. And then after the game, I showed him what his work was, and he was like, wow, this is really cool. I said, yeah, I have this small platform. It's got like 1,500 followers right now. It's called Behind the Broadcast. Do you care if I share it on it? And he said, yeah, no problem. And so I shared it, and then ESPN picked it up, Sports Center picked it up. And then I went from like 1,500 followers to like 5,000 followers, like in like 3 days. And so then I passed my 5,000 mark, and I was like, now I got to keep going. And then there was a good lull for a little bit. You know, I was starting to like figure out what works, what the audience likes, what the audience doesn't like. And so it started growing small and small, and then I was getting gaining the following. So I got it up to about 7,000 followers. And then my life changed. I was working the NBA All-Stars 2 years ago in Cleveland. And I asked the cameraman, hey, it's fantastic what you're doing. It's that famous video, if any of you guys follow the page, where the guy has a crank zoom, and he's zooming into the basketball, zooming out of the basketball, and watching it go into the net. And I said, hey, this is fascinating what you're doing. Can I film you? Again, he said yes. And then I posted that, and then the page just went bonkers. It went from like 7,000 followers to 20,000 followers in like 2 days. And I couldn't even open my phone up without like 500 messages and like, hey, can I use this video? Like, no one had ever seen it before. And so that was my proof of concept. And then I got it to like 20,000 followers, and then, just kind of kept posting that. And then people like saw it, and then they wanted to kind of like be a part of it. And, then they started sharing their stuff with me. And then it just like the snowball, this just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. Now it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's the long drug out story of how Behind the Broadcast came to be.
So let me ask this: how do you keep it going now? I mean, you just said you're almost at 280,000 followers. How do you keep feeding the machine, and also do you monetize it? And if so, how?
Yeah, great question. So that is what I've been putting so much time into as of late, like the last 5 months, is how can I monetize this, right? So I created just about a year ago, almost a year ago to this day, I created like this little tool. It's like a little camera tool. You can see it. I call it the BTB tool. It's good for opening I/O panels, which a lot of people do in broadcasting. And if you don't know what I/O panel is, it's kind of like where all the connections come together, and they're like panels you have to open up. And then it also is great for the bottom of a camera plate. And so there's like a screw under every camera plate that it screws into. So I invented this. I came up with this, and I sold like 1,500 of them at like $20 a piece. So that's been like a small little thing that keeps driving the monetization of it. But now I'm looking to change Behind the Broadcast from more of like a viral video regurgitation page to more of like an educational platform for people learning how to get into broadcasting, people that want to know more about broadcasting. And so I'm very, very close to releasing a lot of things that are going to go along with that educational platform. So that's the monetization that hasn't come yet, but in the next month, you're gonna see it really start to help people, rather than more than just people enjoying entertainment off of the page. And your second part of your question is how do you keep feeding that snowball? It's constant engagement. It's watching the trends. If the Super Bowl is going on, you're searching the internet for, Super Bowl, related things, or people are always sending me stuff. So it's constantly filtering out like, okay, this is a cool post. This is a cool idea. This is a cool story. I'm not going to use this one, but thank you for sharing. It's a lot of that. And so, and it's just staying up with the times. And it seems like keeping the page relevant to live time is everything. And that's what people really enjoy, because people are like, oh, I just watched the Super Bowl, and then I just saw a cameraman using that same shot. So.
And is it just you, or are there other people chipping in now?
So I've partnered with a company that helps me with my merchandise, and it's going to help me with the development of Behind the Broadcast. But I'd say 98% is me. 90%, 95% is me. I have another friend who like chips in when I'm working, and I'll text him. I'll say, hey, can you jump on the page? Can you go through the 15 messages because I don't have like the brain power or the time to really do it today. And he'll be like, yeah, sure, I got you. But for the most part, yeah, it's me. It's all me. And so hopefully if I can start turning dollars, then I can bring more people on.
Yeah, it's really cool because I have friends obviously who are camera operators and freelance or at ESPN or whatever, and
Yeah.
I'll see you showcase them, and I'm like, oh my god, like that's my friend. So I feel like I know famous people whenever you showcase someone that I know. Um,
Sure.
just a reminder that you guys can ask questions. So if you have a question, throw your hand up. We did have one in the chat here from Rebecca. She had asked if you have a utility patent on the tool that you sell.
So it's kind of hard to patent. I've been thinking about it. But it's essentially a screwdriver on a keychain with, and so there's a lot of time, paperwork, and money that goes into a patent. And I've got some other things that I'm kind of working on too. So this is kind of like, this was the first of a couple of things that are going to be coming out. So long story short, no, I don't have a patent on it. But my thing is, if someone wants to remake it, they can. But do they have the audience and do they have the tools to sell it like I can? Probably not. And like what I found is the Behind the Broadcast network is very loyal, and people might see it and say, oh, this is maybe a knockoff of the Behind the Broadcast tool. I'd rather the Behind the Broadcast tool just to support them. Like I said, there's no stopping anyone from making it, but no one's made it so far. And it's a pretty simple tool, but it's essentially a screwdriver, like a specialized screwdriver.
Dare I ask, can you give us a sneak preview of some things coming down the pipeline, or is it hush hush right now?
It's pretty hush hush right now.
I had to at least ask, right? I had to at least
you had to ask. Yeah, it's pretty hush hush right now, but we've got some things that might change definitely the game in the fiber optic world for sure.
Okay, well, I'm excited to see what that is. I'm gonna keep my eye out on that. So what are some challenges you face as a camera operator when you're out in the field?
Weather.
Fair. Yeah.
Weather's probably the biggest one. People don't really understand how long a broadcast day is. People say, oh man, so cool, you work in TV, you work in broadcast, like I wish I had your job. And I say, yeah, it's a great job, but you don't realize that you're coming in at 8 a.m. for a 7 p.m. tip off. And so you're setting up all day long, you're doing pre-production, you're going into directors meetings, and you're setting up your camera, and you're doing all these different things all day. And so by the time tip off happens, it's already been a 9-hour day. And so camera operators, like, one of the hardest things is, you've already been there for 9 hours. And then once that 9-hour hits, that's when you really got to be the guy. That's when you got to be on, because that's now when you're on TV. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then after that, then you have to strike all your cable and stuff, or your cameras and things too. So, so I think maybe just one of the hardest things is just getting through the day, because there's a lot of lull. And so like a very popular term in broadcast and television, film as well, is hurry up and wait. Mm-hmm. That's what we do. We hurry up, we get everything ready, we bust our ass, and then we wait around for 3 hours, and then we'll go to lunch, and then we'll wait for another hour or 2 hours, and then hey, let's go check if the cameras are working. We call it faxing. Let's go fax the cameras. We just fax the cameras for 15 minutes. All right, cool. Let's go sit around for another hour or 2 hours. And people think oh, you're sitting around, but at the same time, it's a long ass day. I know a lot of people that can't get through their 9 to 5. My average workday is 12 hours. So as a camera operator, and then like I said, and then you put yourself in the elements. Maybe you're operating in the snow, maybe you're operating in the hot heat, maybe you're operating in the rain. As a camera operator, you don't get to choose where you work. NBA is great because you're in a building, but if you're working golf, the weather can change from being 80 degrees out and beautiful sunny to 55 and freezing up, and you're just holding onto a camera getting pelted by rain. So, yeah. It all depends.
I don't do that much traveling anymore for work stuff, but I will say that's like one thing that I do not miss is like the elements, because even the trucks get cold. You got to like bring in some heaters in the truck sometimes. It gets
Oh yeah, the
really
trucks always,
dicey.
yeah, the trucks get freezing, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we're
Yeah.
gonna take some questions here. I see Mike has a question. I'll ask you to unmute Mike, and just a reminder also, just state your name and either your job title or school that you go to, or who you are.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mike Fink. I actually I write for a site called the Hockey Writers. I guess you'd call them. This is my fourth season, and this year I actually think it's a relevant question because I started covering in person some of the games in Bridgeport. I'm also wearing a cap with the team on it. But
Nice.
anyway, so this year, and I've been traveling a lot, and I noticed like this is probably relevant for you because there's all I think independent in terms of like you're not part of a company. Is a lot of times, let's say expenses come out of your own pocket, whether it's or your stay or where you eat or your gas on your car and stuff. So like one of the questions I guess is relevant is like when you realize it's costing, let's say, a lot, like how do you know whether, let's say, this travels too far,
Sure.
how to, let's say like I want to be at every game or I want to be able to cover everything, but at what point do you say like, oh, this is actually like especially if like you have to be at a place for a few days and you realize like, oh, that's going to be um a lot, especially when you work for an independent place or you're working independently where you may not be able to get the same what's the word for assistance, let's say. So I'm
Sure.
wondering
Sure.
if
No, that's a great question. So when I started out, like I said, I was making $10 an hour, 6 hours a week doing it. $60 is fine for in college for beer money, but that's about it. And so, how I was kind of like working with that is, I was an Uber driver on the side, and I was trying to make. I was working for another company as well, and I was trying to just supplement my income as much as I could to be able to go travel and do things like that. So when you start out in television, you'll start out as more than likely like a production assistant or a utility or somewhere where it's like a local work, and you don't get those travel benefits. Like now, what I am doing now, I don't work a job where they aren't paying for my flight, they aren't giving me a $70 per diem every day, and they aren't paying for my rate every day. But when you start out, I would travel myself to try and get that experience, because everything is about experience and everything is about networking and meeting the right people. And so to me, it was worth it, as being a utility or a PA. I was living in LA, and let's say there was a game. There was a game at Stanford. Right? Stanford is about a 4-hour drive, 5-hour drive from LA up north. But I would, reach out to my friends, or if I had family, hey, can I crash on your couch? And I would crash on their couch, and they would, they'd let me stay the night there, and then I would pay everything on my own. And so there, I guess, kind of answer your question, there's like a fine balance between, like, are you spending more money than what you're getting out of it? Or are you spending, the little money, sure, but you're making connections, and you're preparing yourself for the next job. And if that's the case, then I would say keep doing it. But if it seems like you're coming out of pocket for a lot of things and you're not getting anything in return, maybe you need to do something different, or keep at it. But now, like I said, now, and majority of people in broadcast and television, when we work, we are flown, so they pay for our travel, they pay for our flights. We can expense back any Ubers or any taxis or things like that, and we get like a stipend every day, and things like that. So it's kind of just like weathering the storm until you get to that point. That's kind of how I would explain it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Let's go to Jack. Go ahead, Jack. How are you?
Hi, Lauren. Hi, everyone.
Hey, Jack.
Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us tonight.
Yeah.
I'm a senior majoring in communications at the College of Charleston, and I'm interested in getting into sports broadcasting and production after school. At first, I wanted to be more kind of in front of the camera, doing some commentary, but now I'm
Yeah.
kind of pivoting to a behind the scenes role. And I was just wondering, what kind of advice or tips would you give to college students who are trying to make that jump and take that next step after school? Right now, I'm actually doing some camera work. I'm a cameraman for the school, filming some of the basketball and baseball games here.
Perfect.
It's been a great experience, and I've really enjoyed it. But yeah, I was just wondering what kind of advice you'd give to kind of make that jump after school.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, you're already in a really good position since you're in school and you've got your hands on the equipment, because experience is really everything. But making that jump, dude, it's doing a good job. It's showing that you want to be there, and it's impressing the other people. It's impressing, like I said, maybe another TV crew comes in and they cover a basketball game at Charleston, and then you introduce them and you're respectful to them and you just kind of show interest. And 9 times out of 10, man, like, production companies are looking for good people because they hire a lot of bad people. And so that's kind of something that I'm hoping that my platform can provide here really shortly is not only trainings and classes, but opportunities to crewing companies that are looking for people that want to be a part of broadcasting. But your story, your journey is not far off from many other people. A lot of people think, hey, I want to be in front of the camera, and there's nothing wrong with being in front of the camera. But then they feel like, oh, this is kind of cool, just covering it. And so I'll tell you what, there's a lot more opportunity probably behind the scenes because there's more positions available than being in front of the camera. And if you do it the right way, and so you can make a pretty livable wage, I'll tell you that. Average cameraman makes about $500 a day. They're not working every day, but some do. So yeah, that's kind of what I would say is just like, don't be too shy. When opportunity presents itself, go after it, and just be personal, be friendly. People, believe it or not, want to help. They want to help, and they want to help people that show interest. So I would say show interest. Yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Parker.
Yeah, no worries.
We have another question in the chat, and then I'll toss it over to Jeff. But this question in the chat is from Grace, and she said, what is your preferred way to catch nat sound on the field? What mic do you prefer?
So I'm not an audio guy. I'm very like video expertise. As far as audio, I know everyone uses shotgun mics, atmospheric mics, and then they're placed around the arena or wherever it is. Let's say if it's basketball, there's like a small little mic up on near the rim to catch that like swish sound. If you're doing football, you have the big parabolic mics that are that pinpoint sound, and so you'll see people on the sidelines. They look like big like dome looking things. And so you'll see people holding those up, and what they're doing, they're catching the sounds of the game. Believe it or not, there's a ton of different ways to catch audio sound. Like I said, I'm no expert in audio, unfortunately.
Well, it's funny that you say that because it brings up a good point that honestly, like, I didn't even realize until I entered the television world. Because when I was in school, so I studied to be a print journalist, and they just kept on harping the model being this one-man band, right? So you're your own camera person, you're your own talent, you're your own audio person, you're literally doing everything. But now that I've entered the TV world, and obviously I'm for a network, so we have the resources to do that. But the amount of jobs and the amount of manpower that goes into putting on these broadcasts professionally. You have your entire camera crew and that's all they do. You have an entire sound crew and that's all they do. You have an entire control room, that's all they do. You know, there's so many different aspects that go into putting in a successful broadcast. And I'm not sure if that, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, I have been out of school now for many, many years, but I don't know if they necessarily teach that. And it's important. That's why I think your page is so important, because it helps people understand the amount of specialties that go into all of this kind of work.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. It's funny. It's like when people come into TV, yeah, they know what a director is and they know what a cameraman is. And everyone either wants to be a director or a cameraman. And then they slowly find out all the other different categories and fields within like a television broadcast. So yeah, like you said, there's an audio department, there's a camera department, there's a video department, there's a production department, there's directors, there's TDs, there's different levels of audio guys, there's different levels of video guys, there's
comms departments that literally just take care of all the communication that all of the operators are doing amongst each other.
Yeah, because believe it or not, I mean, there takes a ton of coordination when you're on this massive show, and all there's frequencies and channels that everyone needs to be talking to, on, and yeah, there has to be someone that coordinates all that. Yeah, so let's say I work for Monday Night Football, like I said, and on average, we travel about 110 people every week, and everyone has a designated job, or they're part of, they're all part of like some type of category that puts on this massive production. So we call it we're like a traveling circus. We're a modern day traveling circus. We come to your town, we do this massive production, and then we get out of town. And so, yeah, people don't realize how many people, like on the bigger shows, how many people are involved in it. Now, if we were doing like a college basketball game, maybe like Jack, like where Jack's at, the average crew is probably about 12 to 15, where you have a director, a TD, 4 cameramen, a couple of utilities, things like that. So the scale, the amount of people on a show just depends on the scaling of how big the show is. But yeah, to your point, there's so much to know about broadcast that just, yes, it's more than a cameraman and a director. Like I said, I'm a fiber tech. No one knows what a fiber tech is. So.
Well, actually, it's funny that you say that, because I was going to ask you what exactly a fiber tech does, and what does that do? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, so I guess like a short description of what a fiber tech is. They handle all the connectivity for everything that is on site. So there's a nucleus that everything starts at, right? Which is usually the truck compound, where there's the TV trucks and all the equipment there. And then basically everything spiders out in cables called fiber, called TAC12, spiders out into the arena. And so if it's like let's say it's like your internet at home, right? Your internet is actually, some of you might have fiber to your house, your internet. So we'll put out like the IT department, which is another part of broadcasting. They'll put out like transmitters basically for talent or whatever to have internet. But in order for those transmitters to work, there has to be fiber that gets to those transmitters. Or there's audio transmitters, there's internet transmitters, there's video transmitters, there's all these different things that fiber, like, that all has to connect to fiber, and then which passes the signal to make these things work. So like every camera, every audio equipment. So like a golf show, for example, utilities, they'll run like 22 miles of fiber.
Wow.
And then it's up to guys like myself to make sure everything is connected the right way. And you think, oh, you're just connecting one thing to another. But if I showed you a map of how like things all connect, it would just make your mind explode. But yeah, so that's basically how how everything works in television is through fiber optics. And so you have to have a guy that knows how fiber optics work, because it's not just like plugging in, it's not like plugging in your HDMI into your computer. There's a lot more that goes into that. So
Well, I mean, maybe that's
I
something
don't know if
that
that explained anything, but that's
well, I was just thinking that could be another piece of content for your channel, is like a fiber map, just to see like the chaos that is with all these wires and fibers.
yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, I should post like, yeah, one of our fiber optic maps. And really maps are even hard. It's more like we have like spreadsheets basically to follow everything, where, because a lot of times your fiber line will start at the truck, and then it'll go to somewhere else, and it'll jump from there to another place, and then by the end, it'll get to your camera. So it's a lot, and it's kind of hard to explain for someone that really doesn't know fiber optics
I
or
mean,
television.
yeah, I don't even know fiber optics, so you're teaching me a lot already just now. Jeff, I know you said you had a couple of things you wanted to ask.
Yeah. So first of all, I am the on-camera person here
Congratulations, Chef, you made it.
well, only in one sense though, but I mean, things are changing so much, and I wanted to bring up, so like I bought this book on photography, but my issue is I don't have a camera. And I know so many people, like photographers I work with at my station. I work at the Fox station here in Dallas. They have their own kits and they do their own work on the side, freelance, kind of like you do.
Yeah.
For people who are trying to, like me, start learning where to start, what equipment to invest in, how to learn, like, what's your advice?
So again, like I said, experience is king. It's getting your hands on the equipment some way or somehow. The best way to do it is get into the industry as a production assistant and kind of just be a sponge and look and learn different cables and learn what people are doing to try and wrap your head around how the hell a TV broadcast works. But you really can't learn it from home, to be honest. You have to kind of be in it. You have to see it. You have to feel it. You have to be a part of it. And so that's kind of what Behind the Broadcast is trying to help with as well. Here in the next month, we are going to be doing a training of an introduction into broadcast, and it's an hour to hour and a half long introductory class, and we're going to break down kind of from the beginning to end of like how broadcasts work, what are these equipments, how are these equipments used and things like that, how are these cables used. And so yeah, I've partnered with Media Dojo. They've put a lot of time into making this introduction to broadcasting. And they've realized, okay, we've got this awesome class, but we don't have an audience. And so they've realized Behind the Broadcast is the perfect outlet to find, to teach, to help get their class out there. And so that's one of the ways I am monetizing the pages, offering these classes. And you can go to Full Sail. I don't know if you've heard of Full Sail, but Full Sail is like it's a college where you can get expert advice and get your hands on the equipment, but it's going to cost you like 60 grand for maybe a year of classes. And so, and you might not even learn, like 70% of the stuff, is stuff that you won't even use in broadcasting. And so what this class with Media Dojo is going to be is we're going to teach you off the top everything that you're going to want to learn and need to know in broadcasting. And so
I guess it's interesting too when we talk about broadcasting, because there's a couple different kinds in today's world, right? I mean, there's the broadcasting.
We're broadcasting right now. Everything is broadcasting.
There's the broadcasting you do, in the freelance jobs with the networks, and then there's what you capture yourself with your own personal gear, I'm assuming. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Or are
explain
you
that
using
a little bit more?
like when you're getting your behind the scenes video of like the guy with the crank zoom or things like that? Like, how are you capturing that on your own gear, or how do you go about that?
A cell phone.
Okay.
Yeah. No, just a cell phone. And I don't want my platform to be to take away from the job that's at the task that's at hand. When I do capture these behind the scenes, I'm usually on my break and I get permission by the person that I'm filming, and it's all very coordinated and executed properly. Because I don't want my page to become with people with their cell phones out there filming, when they have a job to do. When we get hired to do these broadcasts, we're getting hired to do our job. And so it's funny, if you look at the page, I'd say probably 1% is my own content. Maybe 2% is my own content. And that 2% are some of the biggest videos on the page, because I know what the audience likes and I know kind of like how to show that. But I'm not out there when I get on these jobs. I'm never out there just like with my phone sharing behind the broadcast. I go out on these jobs as Parker Ruttan, and I'm here to work. You know what I mean? And so, but like I said, there's a ton of downtime, and there's positions where maybe you're not being used, during the game, and you can go film a cameraman or something like that. And I'm 100% cool with that. But yeah, what you see is my cell phone. And then the European, like the Euros, have taken a huge interest into it. And I think things are a little bit more accepted out there, where they're like talking to their crews and things like that, saying, hey, we're going to bring a GoPro today and we're going to attach it to our camera and we're going to, film us working. Here in America, there's some people that do it, but there's like a fine line of like, are you trying to be here to be a social media guy, or are you trying to be here to work? So,
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
yeah, to answer your question, there's no broadcasting that I do on my own. It's just, this is the broadcast I do on my own right now, is what we're talking right now.
Yeah.
But
I imagine a lot of kind of common people starting out might be looking to invest in like a mirrorless camera or DSLR. Do you do any work with that kind of kit, or?
Yeah. So interesting enough, like I said, when a network, 'cause I'm sports broadcast basically through and through. I've been doing some experimental stuff with Facebook and Meta, which is kind of what you're talking about, where we use more cinematic cameras. But 99% of my work is broadcasting. So when I get to work, the camera is already supplied. Everything I need is there. So I don't ever have to buy my own gear. I don't have to ever like supply my own stuff. You're getting hired to do a job and they're supplying you with all the equipment. But if you were like if you wanted to get more into the ENG style of stuff, where ENG is more like, where you're filming content on a card, you're taking that, you're editing it, you're doing all that stuff, which that is it's like a completely different world compared to what broadcasting is. And if you want to get into that, like kind of where you show me with your book, that's kind of more of that style of shooting.
Yeah, for people who, excuse me, for people who don't know, ENG is electronic news gathering, correct?
Yeah, very good. And it means, for whatever reason, we still use the term ENG, but there's nothing about it that is electronic, deals with the news, or there's a gathering.
Yeah, I think we call it ENG when we're getting like B-roll and stuff.
It's exactly what it is. Yeah, ENG is like is like when you go out and get B-roll. It's exactly what you hit it on the head.
So, maybe this question might be getting a little too in the weeds a little bit, but you said you use your phone a lot, and I know you said, it's secondary to obviously your main job, but
yeah,
do you have like a favorite cell phone as far as like cameras go, or do you not don't really get into the weeds?
No, I mean, a camera's a camera. Like, you use your iPhone or your Samsung, whatever. Like cameras these days like lenses and cameras on phones can honestly have the capability of an expensive $2,000 camera, especially in that style of shooting. You know, you don't need a camera. Like these cell phones now shoot in 4K. They shoot in 30 frames per second, or they shoot in 60 frames per second, which is like a slow-mo. Or I think even like some even shooting 120 frames per second. And so yeah, you really, the cameras, it's just it's not for what I do, it's just your cell phone. It's just your cell phone. The cell phones are so good these days.
We have another question in the chat from Armando. How much has AI been incorporated into broadcasts thus far in your experience so far?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. There's a lot of people have asked that, and AI, it's trying. There's like camera tracking systems and things like that you know, some people could say cameramen should feel threatened about. The tracking isn't there yet though. And then a lot of time, and now we're starting to see more AI and graphics and things like that, where like graphics are kind of like adapting to the environment that you're shooting. It's kind of hard to explain, but AI hasn't, it's not fully, and I don't think it ever will take over something like broadcasting, because there's way too much human development and interaction in broadcasting where machines can't really do.
Funny that you say that, because I actually went to a sports graphics forum for work last week in the city, and this question was, or a similar question was presented, and my favorite answer from one of the panelists was like, the best creators are people, period. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
AI,
I mean, you'll never see AI on a large level production, never, because we're storytellers. As a camera operator, you're told to be a storyteller, so you're telling a story through your lens, and you're reading facial expressions, you're reading action, you're reading what's going on in the game, you're reading timing. You know, you've got all these different things that maybe an AI robot can't emotionally understand. You know, they can't emotionally understand that the coach is freaking out on the sideline because, you know, one of the players just got in a fight with another player. So, however, there are going to be implementations of AI where on the smaller shows where they just want to cover the action, and it doesn't really matter if you're telling a story or not. As long as you're covering the game, then they're going to use AI, because end of the day, AI is going to save everyone money, and the world revolves around money. Broadcast revolves around money. All the networks are trying to budget cut, and they're trying to cut every corner they can to save a dollar. And so, you know, all these smaller, like for instance, this isn't really AI, but like a lot of the smaller productions, they've gone to what we call REMIs, which is a remote production. And so actually they'll have the cameraman and they'll have some people on site. Let's say they're doing a UCLA basketball game. They'll have those people on site, but the director, the producer, the TD, the audio, all those guys are in Bristol. Let's say it's an ESPN show. They're all in Bristol working the show. So ESPN just saved all that money by not having to travel a director, a producer, you know, get them hotels and things like that. So yeah, I mean, bottom line, the networks are going to try and cut as much as they can. At the end of the day, you're never going to have a large show run by robots.
Yeah, that's been a huge push for ESPN the past few years, are these Remy productions actually. So they happen, I know, primarily in like the college sports field. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head of how many games we've done, you know, year to year, but it's a fully staffed thing. Like we have Remy productions that people work fully staffed on that.
Yeah.
I see a question from my friend and coworker, Rick Passmore. Go ahead, Rick.
Hi, Parker. Thanks for taking the time out to talk with us today.
Of course.
So on the other side, outside of like AI trying to take over our jobs and everything, one of the more things I'm interested in, especially as a post editor, is the capturing of footage and seeing the advancements of not just the quality of cameras, 4K, 8K, and so on,
Mhm.
but the use of on-field Ronin, cameras, getting less, not really less steady, but alternatives to steady, using drone footage.
Yeah.
Um, just with your work in the field and how intricate those integrations can be, like what do you see for like a 5-year plan with how much further we can go and how many more eyes can we get on even smaller scale games? Like the Super Bowl is going to have almost 200 cameras, but
Yeah.
let's say some Tuesday night action, for a Remy shot, like can we
Yeah.
end up getting a little bit more visuals on those?
Yeah, like you said, like the Tuesday night Maction show, it's going to be very very bare bones because they know they're not going to make any money and they know they're just there to cover the game, and they're probably covering the game for like betting lines and gambling and things like that to show that like this is what happened. They're not there to tell the story, but and also what you were saying about drones and steady cams and all those things, those all cost money. And so a drone and a steady cam or a jib, those are all higher cost positions. And so it just depends on the budget of what the network wants to spend. Are they going to spend an extra $1,000 just to have a Ronin camera on their show or not? And 9 times out of 10, they're not. Like lately, like networks are just trying to cut as much as they can unless they find that, hey, this is a big game. It's it's a rivalry game, or it's or it's a professional sport.
I
I think that.
I have so many more questions, just even about like freelance stuff. But I feel like I could talk about that for like hours with you. So maybe that'll be like a separate thing that we did. But I know Jeff had another question for you, and then we'll have like one more quick hitter, and then we'll wrap.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was just curious, going back to sort of behind the broadcast and growing on social media, like attention span by social media users has just gone down and down, it seems, over time. Like
Yeah.
when you're evaluating these videos, the content sent to you, figuring out what to post, how to post it, whether it's, because I know TikTok you've done really well too. Like what in
Yeah,
your
pretty good. Yeah.
mind, what in your mind makes for a good, successful social media video now?
So right now, the algorithm, people always talk about the algorithm. The algorithm is constantly changing. And since the new year, I would say, that's really started looking for engagement and how long people stay on your videos rather than just getting through a video. It used to be about, let's show a 6-second video and and it'll get a bunch of replays and replays and replays, and then the algorithm would like it and then it would spread it out. But now those 6-second videos aren't doing it anymore. And so it's more about, are you posting a 45-second video, and is your following or are your viewers watching that full 45 seconds? And if they are, and then maybe they're commenting on it, or maybe they're clicking it and they're saving it for their own archives, or they're sending it to a friend. That's really what the algorithm's looking for. And so I'm trying to find content that people are going to engage with for longer than 30 seconds or so, and they're going to get something out of it. Like a cameraman shooting a basketball game, or something interesting, because what behind the broadcast offers, you can't find anywhere else. You're not going to find, a flyover of jets over the Super Bowl, on many other pages. And what I'll do is I comb through things all day long, and I get, just as the Instagram algorithm works, things pop up on a page that are similar to my interests. And so a lot of times I'll see like a smaller page posted this video and it got like 500 likes. But I know if I post it and I'll always give credit to the originator. But if I post it and they got 500 likes on it, I'll probably get like, 500,000 views or something like that. So it's just staying up with the algorithm and just giving good content. Are people going to watch it, or are they going to swipe right by it? I think real estate people are having a harder time now. Fitness people for sure, motivational people for sure. You saw this huge boom because they were in that niche of the algorithm, but now the algorithm sees like, okay, we've seen this content over and over again. We know what's healthy, we know what's not healthy, and so as people, we've all seen it, and so naturally we just swipe right by it. But luckily for me, I've kind of found like a niche where people don't see this stuff every day, and so then they're looking at it and they're engaging in it, and then the algorithm's like, whoa, all these people are watching the video, let's send it out, because at the end of the day, Instagram's trying to get people to be on Instagram.
Right.
I saw a something about it where Instagram is the largest platform that loses accounts every day. You know what I mean? And so it's also the largest, it's the biggest of all the platforms, but it also loses the most accounts every day. And so as the Instagram brain power engine, you're trying to keep your people that are on the page, on Instagram engaged. And so luckily my the stuff that I post is working with the algorithm right now.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's kind of it. And then you kind of ask like, what am I looking for?
Yeah.
It's two different things. So I do a lot of story posts, and then I do main page posts. The main page posts are the big heavy hitters that, okay, I know this is going to get shares and reshares. It's something interesting. It's something cool. It's something no one's seen before. It might come with some controversy, so people are going to like comment on it and banter on it back and forth. And then for story posts, I'm looking for people that show their behind the scenes of what they're doing, whether they're at the highest level doing the World Series or if they're at the lowest level doing a high school basketball game. Because that's what's so cool about Behind the Broadcast. It has such a wide range, and it shows everything's broadcasting. And I'm not here to say you don't deserve a position on the page because you're in high school and you don't, and you're not at the bigger level. But so that's what's really cool. It's like people that are in high school doing these small little broadcasts can be on the same page that someone at a high, on a big broadcast can be on.
Do you accept, like, if anyone on our call today, if they are behind the scenes or if they have someone shooting behind the scenes, if they sent you a video, is that something that you could potentially, or, depending, I'm not saying everyone's gonna, can't feature everyone, but do you accept things like that?
Yeah, so I tell everyone, like, if you want to try and make it on the page, it's got to be current. So everyone can send me videos of a show they worked last year, and unless it's Steph Curry getting punched in the face by a cameraman a year ago, I'm probably not going to share it. Because like I said, it's all about relevancy. It's all about what's going on current. So I just say, hey, if you're working a college game and, show me a video, I don't need to see you. I just want to see, a video of your camera or your switcher or whatever it is, or your monitor. And then show me where you're at. Are you at San Jose State doing a college game, or are you in Cincinnati doing a Bengals game? So those are the big things, because I like to show, like I said, it's really good for me to show a wide variety of people engaging in Behind the Broadcast.
Yeah, so, I love it. So we're going to give you two more quick questions, kind of quick hitters. And then if anyone else has any questions, otherwise we'll wrap it up. But give me your favorite event that you've covered and give me your least favorite event that you've covered.
Yeah, sure. I definitely have a favorite event on my mind. It was during COVID. It was the very first ever game that our very first ever time Charlie Woods and Tiger Woods played together in a tournament. And because it was in COVID, there was no fans allowed. And it was just basically me, Tiger, Charlie, his sister, and like a couple other PR people. And I was with them for like 3 days, and we were just covering them golf. And because there's no fans, there's no hoopla, there wasn't like an extra thing. It was just very like very personable, and like we were talking to each other, and you don't usually get that in broadcast or TV in general. Like you have to be very professional. You have to keep it, you don't talk to the players ever. You stick to your job and you just admire. And so for me to be able to be there with Charlie and Tiger for the first time of their first time playing together, it was very special. Worst job was just this last Super Bowl.
Really? Why?
Yeah. So I was so the Super Bowl took place at Allegiant Stadium, and we had a couple satellite locations off the stadium, one being on the Las Vegas Strip in front of the Bellagio fountains. And so I was managing that entire project of all the cables. I was the fiber tech for that. And so when you're doing a show in the Las Vegas Strip, there's a lot of things you have to you have to work around. You have to work around crazy people. You have to work around drunk people. You have to work around, you have to work in the nasty Las Vegas Strip. And it's not like a normal production where there's like, it's set up for TV, you're on the Strip. So we had to run a ton of fiber from like back kind of behind the Bellagio all the way to the front of the Bellagio fountains on the street of the Strip itself for these big studio shows that were for the Super Bowl. And so setting up was all right, but when it came to breakdown, it was just like there was so much fiber, and the production team didn't realize how long that this would take. A normal strike on a large show like that should take about 6 to 7 hours. This took about 17 hours, and we worked the morning of the Super Bowl, and we worked it up to an hour before the Super Bowl started. And then so luckily for me, I was able to go enjoy the Super Bowl. And then they brought us in at 12 o'clock at night to start taking everything down. And normally as a fiber tech, you let the utilities and things like that do the work, or not do the work, but they have a big hand in it. Well, because it was Super Bowl, the crewing, whoever crewed the game, or whoever crewed my show was very strapped on people. And so like 8 out of the 10 people were practically useless. And so it was myself and 2 other guys that had to do the work of about 15 guys. And so that's why it also took 16 hours compared to 7 hours. But yeah, so the Super Bowl ended. We came in at 12 in the morning. We worked from 12 in the morning all the way to the next day, 2 p.m. the next day. We didn't get done. And so then we came back we went home, took a nap, and then we did a 9 p.m. shift all the way to about 4 a.m. And we finally finished. And it was just, again, you're in the nasty Las Vegas on the Strip, and crazy people, drunk people. And it was a nightmare. It was honestly a nightmare. And it would have been much easier had I had better help, but unfortunately I didn't. And it was brutal.
I mean, it just goes to show, like, TV, I think, is perceived as this very glamorous, you work in TV and it's so pomp and circumstance and glamorous and celebrities and this, that, or the other. But yeah. I think that is why your brand is so important, because people don't see the 17 hours of cleanup, or the faxing out the cameras, or all of the work that goes into putting together these broadcasts. So that's why Behind the Broadcast to me is a very important account, and I appreciate you making it and creating it and sharing it with us. So thank you.
No, I appreciate that too, and I appreciate you for taking notice, because that's kind of the mission is to highlight, what we do. I mean, I work the U.S. Open in Flushing Meadows every year, and it's 40 days straight, minimum 12 hours a day.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So, yeah,
it's a lot,
so
and it can get hot down there during that time.
Be careful what you wish for when you get into it, because when you become good, you're wanted.
Yeah. Well, which, I mean, hey, we got to get paid somehow, right?
Yeah, and because of it, I make a decent amount of money and can afford a house and a car and all the living things, a puppy.
Well, then that's what it's all about then, the puppy.
And start a business like Behind the Broadcast.
Right. Well, Parker, thank you so much. Seriously, I learned a lot. I loved having you on. I wish you all the success. And Jeff, do you have any other closing remarks?
No, this was great. So definitely going to be looking forward to seeing what the learning things you guys roll out, what those will be.
Yeah.
And everyone should obviously follow along Behind the Broadcast.
Yeah. Like just kind of what Jeff was saying. Yeah, please follow. And this was like a really great, not test, but this was a really great opportunity for me to come on and kind of explain a little bit more in a question to person environment. And so if you guys are still listening right now, please go to your DMs and say, hey, I liked it, but I would have rather heard more about this, or I really need your feedback, especially now that I'm rolling out these classes. Your feedback is vital to the experience people are going to get, especially if they're paying $50 to $100.
And just as a reminder to everyone that attends these, and Parker, so this will eventually be posted on YouTube, so it will be accessible to watch back, which would be great, especially for all the people who attended, to review some of the tips and things we talked about. So Parker, we'll make sure we get you that link, and we'll get it out to everyone else as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, hopefully there's some good tidbits in there where I can cut it out and it'll make the page as well. So
absolutely, and we'll be happy to have you on again soon.
Yeah, let's do it again. We can try to blast it out to more of my following as well, and get more people on here, because end of the day, that's what the platform's for, is to help people want to learn about broadcasting and get into broadcasting.
Well, thank you so much, Parker. Really can't thank you enough. Good luck with everything. And thank you, everybody. Keep on the lookout for our next Zoom. We'll be sending out the email blast. And yeah, hope everyone has a great night and a great week.
Thanks, Parker.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Parker, bye.
Bye.